Alright guys, welcome back to Underground Science, and in this video, we'll be talking about another type of anemia called hemorrhagic anemia. Alright, so hemorrhagic anemia is pretty much when an individual experiences a sudden wound. Alright, so if someone gets a sudden hemorrhage or an aneurysm and loses a lot of blood, right, acute blood loss, so right away. And if it could be any type of traumatic wound too, like some type of traumatic injury or like a very bad car accident where someone has a big open wound or a gunshot wound or a stab wound, right? So let's just say that we have a huge wound that's letting go of a lot of blood, all right? So a big wound that lets go of a lot of blood. What's that going to lead to? That's going to lead to a lot of loss of red blood cells, right? So the amount of red blood cells in your blood is going to go down significantly, all right, because of that huge open wound. So we're going to have a decrease, or I mean, it doesn't have to be, it could be internal bleeding also, right? So a huge loss of red blood cells in your blood. So what that's going to do is that's going to decrease the total number of, or the total amount of oxygen supply, right, to your tissues, which is all going to be right away classified as anemia. But this can be very short. You could have anemia in a very short amount of time, or acute anemia, right, because of the acute blood loss. So because of this huge wound, right, so because of this huge wound that we see, right, we have a lot of blood loss. So let's say it's some type of hemorrhage or some type of stab wound, right, where we have a lot of red blood cells being lost, and so that means that we're going to lose the total amount of oxygen that's being carried to our tissues, right? And so this is going to be classified as an anemia, and in specific, a hemorrhagic anemia. All right, so we'll definitely have to give some transfusions to this person, right, as a form of trying to treat this person's sudden blood loss right away, right? So transfusions is going to be huge, and fluids also, so that we can maintain the blood volume. But yeah, that's pretty much it, because hemorrhagic anemia it's pretty self-explanatory once you know that it's caused by a gunshot wound or any type of wound, not just that's one of the examples, a gunshot wound, a stab wound, a huge, just any wound that starts gushing out blood. It could be internal bleeding, right? So like an aneurysm or a hemorrhage. All right, so it's just a lot of blood leaking out, which will then result in a loss of red blood cells, significant loss of red blood cells, which is why we'll have to do transfusions, right? And remember, make sure it should be the same blood type and RH factor. And so because of the loss of red blood cells, it's going to be a decreased amount of oxygen, right? Delivered to your tissues across the body and your cells across the body, which means it's going to be a form of anemia. All right, and so that's pretty much it. It's just loss of red blood cells due to heavy bleeding, all right, which due to a trauma wound, all right, so a wound that's caused by sudden severe trauma or any internal bleeding also, like a hemorrhage that causes loss of red blood cells. All right, so that's pretty much the basic idea of our hemorrhagic anemia. And so you could get acute anemia from this, but it could be treated by transfusions and fluids, right? Intravenous fluids, but you could get acute anemia because of the severe loss of red blood cells. So this video is pretty short. That was pretty much it, but that was a type of anemia, so it was important to mention. So I hope this video made sense to you guys. I hope to see you guys in my future videos here at Underground Science, where we'll talk about more cool topics about biochem, and physics. I hope that you guys will tune into my future videos by hitting that notification bell, and go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later, and stay safe, and yeah.